All right, let's dive into the shadows of one of literature's most haunting genres. We're not just talking about ghosts and spooky castles here. We're going to peel back the layers and look at the deep psychological tricks that make Gothic tales so incredibly unsettling. I mean, really think about it. Why do stories like Frankenstein or Dracula, written ages ago, still get under our skin today? It's definitely not just the monsters. It's something way deeper. It's what these stories reveal about our own minds. And that, right there, is the big question, isn't it? The whole idea of Gothic horror is that the most terrifying things aren't hiding in some dark corner. Nope, they're buried deep inside our own heads. It's a journey inward. So to really get what makes Gothic horror tick, you have to understand it's not about the cheap thrills. It's playing a much, much longer game with our psyche. You know, a lot of modern horror is all about the jump scare, that quick shock that gets your heart racing. But Gothic horror, it's different. It's all about building this slow, creeping dread. It's that unsettling feeling in your gut, that sense that something is just fundamentally wrong. And that feeling sticks with you. So how in the world do these writers build that kind of dread? Well, a massive piece of the puzzle is the environment itself. In these stories, the setting is never, ever just a backdrop. Okay, so check this out. It's this perfect blend of the outside world and the inner world. A crumbling castle isn't just a spooky place to set a story. It's a symbol of a decaying family or a character's own fractured mind. Those vast, empty moors, they totally mirror how isolated and alone a character feels. The very walls of these places seem to crank up the volume on everyone's inner turmoil. And you see this in all the classics, right? Think about the house in Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. The building is literally falling apart at the same time its owners are losing their minds. Or Thornfield Hall from Jane Eyre, with all its secrets locked away in those oppressive hallways. These places aren't just settings, they're characters driving the horror. All right, so we've talked about these oppressive places. Now let's talk about the tormented people stuck inside them. If the setting is the body of Gothic horror, then the characters, they're its broken, beating heart. Gothic literature gives us these amazing character archetypes that represent these huge psychological themes. You've got the classic mad woman in the attic, who stands for all the thoughts and desires society tells us to push down. Then there's the tormented Byronic hero, you know the type, brooding and handsome, but just eaten alive by guilt from some past mistake. And of course, the unreliable narrator, whose obsessions make us question every single word we're reading. And here's the real kicker. The thing that makes this all so terrifying is that we can actually see a little bit of ourselves in these characters. We've all felt guilt or had to repress something or gotten a little obsessive, so watching these characters get completely consumed by those feelings, well, that's what makes their mental breakdown so chilling and so scarily relatable. Okay, let's peel back another layer. We're going even deeper now, beyond the characters and settings, into the primal fears that these stories were literally designed to poke at. Gothic writers were absolute masters of tapping into our deepest anxieties. It's no accident that the genre blew up during the massive changes of the 18th and 19th centuries. The fear that society itself was crumbling, that was very real during the Industrial Revolution. The fear of the unknown, totally relatable as science started questioning old beliefs, and the terror of losing control, that hits hard in an era of bewildering change. These are timeless fears, for sure. Now, to tap into these fears, writers have a whole psychological toolkit. One of the big ones is called the uncanny. You know that super creepy feeling you get when something familiar seems just off, like a doll that looks a little too human? That's the uncanny. It's when the normal becomes weird and horrifying, and it just completely messes with our sense of a safe reality. Then you have the sublime. If the uncanny is personal and creepy, the sublime is huge and overwhelming. Imagine standing before a massive, stormy ocean or a giant, dark mountain range. You feel this sense of awe, but also terror. You realize just how small and insignificant you are. Gothic horror uses this to make us feel like we're up against forces way, way beyond our control. And finally, we've got the grotesque. This is where things get really weird. It's a mashup of the horrifying and the weirdly funny, something that completely distorts the natural world. Think of those gargoyles in old cathedrals. They're part monster, part joke. The grotesque repulses us, but we also can't look away, and it leaves us feeling deeply weird about the world. So after all this talk about old books and crumbling castles, why does any of this matter now? Well, because the shadow of the Gothic castle stretches way further than you might think. The truth is, the DNA of these Gothic stories is everywhere today. The unreliable narrator, the setting that reflects the main character's mind, the deep dive into guilt and obsession. I mean, that's the foundation of almost every modern psychological thriller and horror movie you can think of. The Gothic tradition never really went away. It just put on modern clothes. And maybe this is the biggest reason we keep coming back to them. These dark, twisted stories give us a safe place to face our own fears. We get to watch a character battle their inner demons, and in doing so, we get to explore our own dark corners from a safe distance. And you know what? That can be incredibly cathartic. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Think about the stories that have really truly stuck with you, the ones that left you feeling just a little bit uneasy long after you finished them. Which one was it? And what deep-seated fear do you think it managed to tap into inside of you?